All right, we just have two concepts that we need to cover today, and then I'm going to show you object-oriented programming in Java, since Python does not really provide a good example of object-oriented programming. Java is way more suitable for this type of programming. All right, so inheritance. Inheritance, fairly simple concept. If we have a class that already exists and it has some kind of specifications, we can extend this class with a new class. And a good example for that is, right here, they're showing an example with insects. I don't really like that example. More of a fan of a vehicle. So for example, if we have an existing class called vehicle, right? What does vehicle do? Vehicle will have wheels. Vehicle will have some type of windows, and vehicles as a method, vehicles will be able to transport people somewhere or transport things somewhere. So we will have our superclass, as right here, superclass, a term for our base class, will be vehicle. However, any classes that are going to be derived from that, such as a car, a plane, a bicycle, a moped, a motorcycle, those will be called the subclasses. And you can also think of it as a parent class and child classes. So while our vehicle class will provide some specifications to the children of its classes, our children will have their own specifications on top of having the basic specifications. So, for example, if we have a car will have 4 wheels, right? If we have a plane will have an extra method that will be the ability to fly. If we have a motorcycle will have, for example, a specifications that it only has 2 wheels, right? So each of those subclasses will have little details that are going to be different. However, that's not always the case. You can also create a new class that's going to extend your base class, that's going to have the same specifications as your base class. You can also do that. However, the main reason for inheritance is for all of your children classes to have some basic specifications by default. And then on top of that, you can add more specifications on top. All right, polymorphism. Polymorphism, another important concept that you guys need to know, and it's just the ability for you to create methods that's going to have the same name. However, they will give different, not answers, but like they will do different things, even though they will have the same name. And a good example for this one, for example, if our method would be called speak, right? An object called dog would produce woof. The object called cat will produce meow, and the object called duck will produce quack, which means that we're still calling the same method. We're still calling speak, but based on the object that we are using, we will get different results and we will get different answers to our method called speak. So that's the whole idea of polymorphism, that based on the object that you're using, the same method can take different forms. And you can stop me if you have any questions, or if something is too complicated, just you can stop me and I'll focus on that again and I can go over it again. All right, Java. So Java has a little bit more rules than Python. That's going to be our next class starting Monday, I think, Monday or Tuesday. We're going to focus on Java, and it has a little bit more rules to it. You have to be a little bit more careful with the semicolons and your access specifications. However, Java is a very good example of using object-oriented programming. As you can see here, public class just means that basically this is where your program is located. This is your class called cell phone, the same way as whenever we define functions in Python, definition main. This is the same idea here. Public class, cell phone. So inside of this class, we will have specific methods and we will have all of our variable declarations. And as you can see here, remember from our last lecture, whenever we define our variables, we want to make them private. However, when we want to define our methods, we want to make them public. And you can see them here. So our strings and a double are all private. Private, private, private. So this one is manufacturer, this one a string, private string model number, and this one a double retail price. Then all of our methods, remember setters and getters, we have those with object-oriented programming. Our setter, this is what it would look like in Java. You would create a public method. Void just means that you do not want to return anything. This is a way in Java to specify that this method will not return anything back to the main program. So that's all that means, void. So our public method, void, so we are not returning anything. Then the name set manufacturer, which means that we're gonna set this variable to a certain value. And then what we want to pass. So we want to pass a string because our manufacturer is a string. So we want to pass a value that is a string. And then what we do inside of this method, we just assign manufacturer to whatever value that we pass with this method right here. Now, same idea works here. Same thing, public void, we're not returning anything. All of the setters do not return anything. Then a string, we're passing some kind of value, and then we are assigning that value right here to our model number, right here, model number. And the same idea with the retail price. But as you can see here, we specified that we are passing a string. And in this case, with the retail price, we're not passing a string, we're passing a double. That's why right here, you will see a double. You will not see a string. That's the only difference in these methods, these two from this one. But it does essentially the same thing. We're just passing a double value, some sort of number, and then we're just assigning that number to our retail price right here, our retail price. And here are our getters. You can see the difference with getters in Java very clearly because, first of all, the return statement. Now our getter will have a return statement because we want to return a value with our getters, right? And right here, instead of using void, you can see here void. Instead of using void, we're specifying what type of value we want to return to our main method. So you can see here, public, we're returning string, and then a name of our method, in this case, get manufacturer. And then what this method does, simply returns the value that is stored right here in our string manufacturer. We are returning that value whenever this method is called. And here is what it would look like when you would like to create an instance of your class, of your cell phone class, of this class. So we need to declare a variable that's going to be referred to our class cell phone. This is how you do it in Java, cell phone, and then whatever name you want it to have. In this case, it's my phone. And then we need to create an object, right? So then what we do is we take this variable, my phone, and then we assign it to a new object that comes from class cell phone. And you do it by putting new, then whatever class you want that object to refer to, cell phone, and then you just put empty parentheses and a semicolon. That's the way you do it in Java. Then we want to store some values, right? We want to set our phone, because right now our phone, called my phone, it just has empty values. So all of these manufacturer, model number, retail price, those have empty values. And we want those values to have, those variables to have some values. In this case, we're setting the manufacturer to Motorola, we're setting the model number to M1000, and we're setting the retail price to 199.99 using our setters. We do not access the variables directly. As I told you in previous lecture, we don't set them directly because we do not want we don't want our variables to be accessible that easily by anything outside of our class. That is why we're doing it through our setters. And this is the way you would do it in Java. And now if we wanted to display what values our object called myphone has, we would just use our getters. And don't be afraid, I know this looks crazy. Instead of just one print function, this is system.out.println. However, I will explain it to you in our next class. Just for now, you need to know that this is the same as a print function in Python. This does the same thing, just prints out something on your screen. And in this case, we want to print out all of our values. And how do we do that? Same idea as using our setters. We just put the object that we want to access the value of, then we put a period, and then we put whatever value we want to get, right, from our object getters. That's where it's coming from, getting a value. In this case, it's get manufacturer. And what will this method do for us? It will just return for us which value is stored in a variable called manufacturer. All of this is going to do. And what will this produce? Get manufacturer will print Motorola because we just assigned it. Get model number will print M1000, and get retail price will print 199.99. This is all that is going to be displayed, exactly what we put in those variables. All right, let's see. Here is a great example right here. So essentially the same class, right? Same idea, same class, but we're adding a constructor. And remember, I told you a constructor already exists within your class, even though you do not define it. Whenever you create a class and you put some variables into your class, your constructor automatically exists within your class. But you can also create a constructor by putting public and then the name of your class, and then whatever values you want this constructor to assign. As in this case, it's manufacturer, model number, and retail. So we can, by using this constructor, we can automatically, whenever we are creating our object for the first time, we can assign specific values to our object as it's being created. So in this case, right here, as you can see in this case, these values were empty. They were null because this is empty. We did not pass any variables. So when we created this object, we created it with empty values. By using this constructor, we will be able to create our object with already specifically defined values. And how do we do that? Let me see, is there an example? There's no example. Okay, so how do we do that? We would do it the same way. We would put my phone, right? My phone, new cell phone. And instead of putting just cell phone with an empty parentheses, we would specify exactly what values we wanted to have. So for example, in this case, Motorola, right? Motorola. Then we would put M1000, 1000, and then we would put 199. So this is the way you would create. Then why you might think, why would we do that? And that's simple, because we would get rid of all of these three statements this way. This way, we would just not need to print all of these lines of code, and we would just need to put one line of code instead of printing 3 lines of code. It just saves you time and effort. Because this way, your object, my phone, will already have specific variables set up to specific values, and we would just not need to use the setters. Let's see, this is how you would extend a method that I just told you, inheritance. So this class A would have some kind of variable, some kind of methods. And if we would want to create a class B that extends class A, this is how you would do it. You would just put extends and which class it extends. Pretty simple. As you can see here, we have a public class animal. Animal will have a method called show species that will just print, I'm just a regular animal. And then make sound, this specific make sound method will print grr. That's all it's gonna do. However, whenever we create a extension class, in this case called dog, that extends our class animal, the same method, as you can see here, show species, same method will print for this specific, just for the dog class, it will print I'm a dog. And the make sound method will print woof woof. This is a great example of inheritance and polymorphism at the same time, because as you can see here, this class, this method show species will just print I'm just a regular animal, and then for the dog is going to print I'm a dog. The same idea as with the cat that extends animal. The cat will print I'm a cat, and make sound will print meow. That's the whole point of inheritance and polymorphism. Yeah, this is just the code that shows you what's going to happen whenever you do that. So here's our main method, and we are creating 3 objects. We're creating animal, my dog, and my cat. And this object refers to the animal object. Obviously, this object, my dog, refers to the dog object, and my cat refers to the cat. And whenever we are printing variables, which look the same, right? Show animal info, show animal info. These are the same methods. They will produce different values. In this case, they will produce I'm just a regular animal. In this case, they will produce I'm a dog. And in this case, for cat, it will produce I'm a cat. That's the only difference between all of these. And even though they have the same name, they will produce different results, and that's because of polymorphism. All right, that's all I had for today. Pretty quick.